Keith, you've gone too far this time. The entire clan will perish because of you. The leader of the Nightshade clan roared at his beloved son. Keith knelt on the ground, trembling and sobbing uncontrollably. The clan sage stepped forward, saying, "Leader, our only option now is to seek help from the Crimson Monarch. He is the only one who has successfully defeated the Silver Crusaders." But when Keith finally stood before the Crimson Monarch, he cried out in despair, "It's you." Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Drama TED channel. Now, let's dive into the story. On the night of the new moon, the sound of whips cracking echoed in the cellar of the Nightshade clan's ancient castle. "Bastard, this is the price for dirtying my cloak." Keith Nightshade swung a whip woven with silver threads, each strike leaving scorching marks on Ryan Blackwing's pale skin. The 15-year-old boy bit his lip hard to stifle his screams, the taste of blood filling his mouth. In the corner of the cellar, Elena Nightshade covered her mouth and chuckled softly, her moonlight-like silver hair shimmering in the darkness. "Young Master Keith, his blood smells disgusting, a filthy half-human, half-vampire mongrel." She kicked over the bucket of salt water beside Ryan, soaking his tattered clothes and triggering a new wave of pain. This was Ryan's daily life in the Nightshade clan. As the illegitimate child of a human woman and a vampire, his fate was sealed the day he was brought to the clan. He would live in the shadows. Behind the armor in the castle's corridors, under the weapon racks in the training grounds, even under the dining table, Keith's traps were everywhere. "Enough," a faint voice came from the cellar door. Lisa Twilight stood there holding a bottle of medicine, her light brown eyes glinting in the dim light. "The clan leader said there should be no permanent damage." Keith sneered but did put away the whip. He grabbed Ryan's black hair, forcing him to look up into his scarlet eyes. "Remember, mongrel, you're alive only because of the Nightshade clan's mercy." Then, he slammed Ryan's head against the stone wall. As the footsteps faded away, Lisa knelt in the pool of blood, gently wiping the wound on Ryan's forehead with a cloth soaked in ointment. "Why, do they hate me so much?" Ryan's voice was hoarse, barely sounding like a teenager's. Lisa's fingers paused briefly. "Because you can walk in sunlight, and they envy that freedom." The bullying continued until Ryan turned 18. Under the full moon, the Nightshade clan's coming-of-age ceremony was held in the misty forest. Young vampires competed to hunt the most delicious blood. Ryan was chained to the altar, he was the prize of the night. "The rules are simple," the leader, Redek Nightshade, announced, his voice echoing through the woods. "The first to catch this mongrel will earn the honor of being embraced by Elena." Elena stood beside Keith, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She hadn't always despised Ryan. Before he became the clan's punching bag, they were even friends for a time. Ryan used to tell her about the feeling of being surrounded by sunlight and would bring her sun-warmed wood to let her feel its heat. But when Ryan became the target of Keith's group, Elena had no choice but to distance herself. After all, her dream was to marry Keith, the future clan leader, and become his pure-blooded vampire wife, a goal she was willing to achieve by joining every act of bullying against Ryan. At the sound of the horn, Ryan broke the chains and fled into the dense forest. Behind him came the howls and laughter of the hunters. To the young vampires, this hunt was just a game, but to Ryan, it was a matter of life and death. Branches tore at his skin, thorns tangled around his ankles. He could feel the pursuers closing in. Keith deliberately swept his sword's wind across Ryan's back, while Elena continuously conjured illusions to distract him for fun. When he stumbled into a stream, he saw Lisa standing in the shadows under a tree. She quietly pointed to a cave downstream. Before dawn, Ryan, battered and bruised, curled up in the cave's deepest corner. Outside, Keith's angry shouts echoed, "Find him! Find that mongrel!" Then came Elena's sweet, mocking voice, "He can't have gone far, young Master Keith." As sunlight pierced through the mist, the sounds of pursuit gradually faded. Ryan knew they hadn't given up, they were simply waiting for nightfall. He reached for the silver dagger Lisa had secretly slipped into his pocket, its blade engraved with the address of a human church. "The weak don't deserve to survive." Ryan wiped the blood from his lips and, for the first time, bared his fangs in the daylight. "Then I'll become the strongest." 10 years later, under a blood moon, the throne room of the Dark Castle was bathed in crimson light. Ryan Blackwing, now the Crimson Monarch, toyed with a crystal goblet, the liquid inside as red as blood. "Your Majesty, the Nightshade clan's envoys have arrived," a guard reported softly. Ryan's lips curled into a cold smile. "Let them crawl in." When Elena crawled before the throne, she could hardly recognize the boy who had once been bullied. Now, Ryan wore a dark red cloak, his eyes glowing with the ancient blood light only thousand-year-old vampires possessed. Even more terrifying was the oppressive aura surrounding him, which made pure-blood Elena instinctively tremble. "Ryan, no, Your Majesty." Elena looked up with her most enchanting smile, but froze when she met his icy gaze. "The Nightshade clan needs your help." Keith reluctantly knelt on one knee, his eyes filled with familiar hatred. Ryan observed his former tormentor with interest. Keith's face was pale, and his right arm was wrapped in blood-soaked bandages. The Human Council has sent the Silver Crusaders, Elena's voice trembled, because young Master Keith accidentally killed a human girl. Accidentally? Ryan suddenly laughed, his laughter shaking the crystal chandelier. You mean after draining her dry, he hung her corpse at the church door? I received the report 3 days ago. Keith abruptly looked up. You're the one who informed the humans? The temperature in the throne room dropped sharply. Ryan's figure instantly appeared before Keith, grabbing his throat and lifting him up. 10 years have passed, and you're still this stupid. He said softly, his fingertips growing sharp black nails. If I wanted to destroy the Nightshade clan, I wouldn't need to use humans. Elena clung to Ryan's leg, pleading, please, for the sake of kinship. Kinship? Ryan threw Keith aside and retrieved a silver emblem from a treasure chest, the clan insignia Elena had once led the group to throw into the fire. When you hunted me like prey, there was no talk of kinship. A month later, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the clouds, the Nightshade clan's castle was engulfed in flames. The Silver Crusaders' holy water bombs exploded in the courtyard, and hunters armed with silver weapons breached the gates. Keith roared orders to his remaining troops from the top of the tower, while Elena kept looking into the distance. He said he'd consider it. He'll come. Don't be naive. Keith slashed a flying silver arrow with his sword. That mongrel wants us all dead. In the chaos, no one noticed a small figure struggling to carry the wounded. Lisa's gray robe was soaked in blood as she tried to use her weak healing magic to help every injured companion, even those from Keith's faction who had bullied her. When the main castle's dome collapsed, Lisa was thrown into the rose garden by the blast. She struggled to get up but saw Keith and Elena cornered by 5 Silver Crusaders. In the name of the Human Council, you are sentenced to the punishment of sunlight. The Knight Commander raised his silver sword. Lisa closed her eyes, bracing for the expected pain, but it never came. She felt a sudden whirlwind, and when she opened her eyes again, she was on the balcony of the dark castle. Ryan released his arm from around her waist, the moonlight outlining his silhouette. Why, did you save me? Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. Ryan looked toward the burning castle in the distance, the fire reflected in his deep eyes. This is repayment for your help 10 years ago. As dawn's first light bathed the land, the Nightshade clan's banner turned to ash in the fire. Ryan turned and walked into the depths of the castle, his black cloak brushing against Lisa's trembling shoulders. Welcome to the Crimson Dynasty, Lisa Twilight. Here, kindness is no longer a weakness.